welcome back.
Hello, welcome back to Nintendo Nostalgia. I'll be your host today. My name is Chris Warren, and also joining me today we have Ryan Black and Joshua Taylor. We are back and we are playing with power. Guys, how are you? It's been so long.
I'm doing just fine here. We are making it along anyway.
I'm
Cool,
great, man.
Ryan. Great. Yeah, it's
We're
been
gonna go.
so long since we've done this. It feels right at home to be talking to you guys. It's very strange. I know it hasn't been that long, but it really does feel like it. But we knew that we had to do something for the Nintendo Direct that dropped yesterday. That was such a nice treat. I was not really expecting something to drop, but I'm so glad that it did. It really makes the fall season for me. I'm like still basking in the post Nintendo Direct glow.
Mhm.
So cool. I hope that you guys liked it, but we're gonna jump in and kind of talk about all the different things that appeared in the Direct. So I guess we'll get started. So what I'm going to be doing today is, excuse me. And by the way, guys, my voice is a little bit raspy. I'm not exactly sure why. It might just be like the change of seasons, but just bear with me. um, so I'm using IGN's list of all the things that appeared in the Nintendo Direct. So I don't know if it was in order. I don't think that it is, but um, we'll just go with what they have because it seems pretty comprehensive. So the first thing on this list, guys, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Yeah, so I unfortunately I saw the leak for this earlier in the day, so that kind of stinks. All the news sites was not hiding that very well, right there, front and center in the thumbnails and all of that. But I mean, anyway, the reveal itself was I still think was really great. I like Kirby. It's not like my favorite series. I don't know if it's really like anybody's like top series. It's not one that like you know I don't think a lot of people get super excited for it, but I was really happy to see that series finally go into 3D. I think it was rumored back in like the GameCube days, maybe,
Right, yeah.
or at least some
Yeah.
people speculated that was going to happen. Maybe I can't remember the exacts, but I'm glad to see it finally happen. The 2D Kirby's are mostly pretty good. It's just they get a little samey, sort of,
Yeah.
and I'm just
Mhm.
happy to see them take that jump in a different direction. And I usually love 3D platformers anyway. And even the art style on things seems a little bit different here, like the setting. But at the same time, I was glad to see like some returning Kirby enemies, like in that 3D environment. I feel like I'm talking about like I'm saying things I should have said like in the 64 GameCube days, but
Mhm.
um,
No, I
I'm
agree
really
with
looking
you.
forward to that. This was probably one of my favorite things to see during this direct.
Yeah, it was a really unexpected surprise. Ryan, what were your thoughts on the Kirby game? I'm really curious.
Um, at first I was like, oh, it could be Splatoon, but could be something completely different. And so when I saw Kirby, I was still a little skeptical that it was an actual Kirby game. I wasn't sure if it was just like Kirby and a cameo and something else or what have you. And I know it's a little early for Sakurai to be working on a Kirby game, since he's still working on Smash, but he might have a little bit of extra time now that they're wrapping up that last fighter. So I'm kind of curious to see if he's going to do anything with that, if it's his baby or if it's something that another team's working on. But it looked very basic, as far as like gameplay wise, just hack and slash, like light, definitely a kids feel. But it looked like it also had some cool cutscenes and like boss fights and things. So that could be pretty cool. And just like a fun adventure, as long as it's long, because Kirby games tend to be shorter. Like in the history, it's what it feels like to me anyway. Whenever I play them, I'm like, I'm done before I've really gotten into it. But I
Mhm.
haven't really played anything since since before Robobot came out, so I can't really say much on the newer stuff. But that's kind of my feeling. I have low expectations for how well this is going to be, or how well it's going to be received, and how like challenging it's going to be for me as a gamer. But I'm always like charmed by Kirby, and it gave me oddly enough like Sonic Adventure 2 battle vibes.
Hmm.
In some cases, running around, and then also got kind of I don't know, it just that hack and slash feel too. I was like, I could play Kirby in a sort of a quote unquote open world like experience, kind of like Sonic Adventure, and run through levels like that. That would be fun, especially
Yeah.
the power ups. And at first they didn't show the power ups, and then they showed like the sword Kirby finally, and then I was like, okay, cool. So they've got some depth to it with power ups, and they could do some really cool things with that. And I'm kind of curious to see where they go with it, and I think they have a potential to do a good job with it. Um, Now, Chris, after you have said your piece about it,
Mhm.
I would like to circle back and talk about what the coming of a Kirby game like this to Switch signals usually in the history of Nintendo. But go ahead
Mhm.
and let us know what you think.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think that the both of you guys really summed up a lot of my thoughts really well. I totally agree with the both of you. For me, Kirby was one of my first games ever and really introduced me into video games. So obviously, I've matured as a gamer and have really branched out into other types of games, but there's still always been a part of me that just really likes Kirby. It's kind of like chicken soup where you just every time you go back to it, it's just a delightful, fun experience, and you don't have to think too hard. It's not overly challenging. It's just fun, you know. But these are games that are for a younger audience, like when I was a kid, when Kirby 64 came out. And it'll be really interesting to see how older gamers like us take to it. And something that I love about the Kirby franchise is that it's so malleable. It's so able to be so many different things and still work out well. Like with Kirby Canvas Curse, it's very different from a typical, 2D Kirby game, and Mass Attack, and Kirby Air Ride, like all these different things. Kirby's so flexible in that way, and so I think it's really cool that they're again taking another chance with this series and bringing him into an open space. And
Mm.
like Josh said, this is something they've been experimenting with for a long time, and I kind of just assumed that this was something that they kind of gave up on. They kind of just figured he's just like a 2D character. So it's really cool that they seem to have found a pretty interesting formula. And from what I've seen, it seems to be very true to who Kirby is, and that they're using his abilities in pretty interesting ways, at least the concept. But like you said, Ryan, it does seem a little easy, so I don't really know if this will be a game for me, but I will be really happy if, at the very least, there are some younger players who get a real kick out of this, and it allows them to really expand their horizons with gaming. So, it was a really awesome surprise. I don't know if it'll be for me, but I'm really glad that it does exist. But I think this is a good time to get into the topic that you wanted to mention.
Yeah, so usually when Nintendo releases a Kirby game this late in the cycle, it signals the end of a console. The end of a generation. And so I've been hearing that kind of buzzing about on Twitter and Facebook and things like that, where they've been saying like, "Oh, well, this signals jokingly mostly, but this signals the end of the Switch line. There's something new coming after that." And if you look at like the Switch's line, you'll see like you've got the standard Switch, you've got an improved version with better battery, and then you got the Switch Lite, and now you've got the OLED coming out, which is kind of like the XL version of the handheld and things like that. And so, like, are we going to see this next iteration of Switch, Switch 2 or Switch Pro or whatever you want to call it? And like, does Kirby really truly um, dismiss or kind of is the setting the sunset on the system? And in this case, I'm pretty skeptical. But in the past, I've been skeptical when I've seen a Kirby game and it still keeps going, and then it just like maybe a couple months later they announced a new thing, and so like a lot of people don't play. That's why I didn't play Robobot because it was not too late in the 3DS's like cycle. Anyway, you kind of get what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, do you
Yeah,
have any thoughts on
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because it's not really something that I thought about in the past until someone, brought it to my attention. And it's pretty true for like every console that they've had, if you really think about it. At the same time, though, the thing with Nintendo is that once you start to notice a pattern or think that you've picked up on a pattern, they just
It's
throw out
done.
the rule book and it
Yeah.
totally resets. So who knows? If history tells us anything, yeah, that's right. The Switch is on its way out. I mean, it's pretty clear. It's been out for like what, 5 years now or so. So it's it's not a new console by any
Mhm.
stretch, but we don't know how much longer they're going to be um, uh, pushing this specific iteration. I just wanted to say one quick thing about Robobot is, like you said, Ryan, it came out at the end of the 3DS's life, and I wasn't really that into it because I'm just like, another 2D Kirby game, and like I'm kind of into other things at this point. But Robobot really surprised me and ended up being a really awesome game. I wasn't that impressed by the trailer initially, but it's probably, now that I think of it, one of the best Kirby games, if not the best. So I'm going to reserve judgment on this 3D Kirby game until it comes out because it really could surprise and delight us. But going back to the end of the life cycle thing, Josh, what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure. I always just took that as a joke, to be honest. I've heard
Mhm.
it, but I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. Um, I guess I don't have a whole lot to say on that aspect, except I will say with Robobot, I agree completely with Chris on that. It's possibly one of the best Kirby games if you haven't played that yet.
Mhm. Hmm.
Yeah, and I was kind of expecting more Kirby stuff during this, Switch generation. But at the same time, I have heard that Star Allies has gotten pretty substantial updates over the past few years, or at least like post-launch, and that it's now a pretty good game. I know that when it came out, it wasn't, people weren't too hot on it, but yeah, I'm just happy that they're doing this. It was I've said this a few times. It's very unexpected. I didn't see the leak, so it totally caught me off guard. But if they nail this, this is gonna open up a whole new, branch of the Kirby franchise, and I really hope that they deliver. So, yeah.
I,
Do you guys have any
I
other
know we're
thoughts?
say I know we're trying to move on, but I will say
Hmm.
on the Switch also is Kirby Fighters 2, I think is the name of it,
Oh yeah,
and that's
Oh
a pretty
yeah.
good little game. Yes, I
Smash
think I
Bros.
got
Lite.
it. Well, I might have got that for a review code, but I think it's like $20. But yeah, it's kind of like a Smash Brothers, but I think it's pretty good fun if you haven't heard of it and you ever, just have a little bit of a Kirby itch, but you want something a little different. It's a pretty good time.
Yeah, definitely. The Switch is one of the best consoles ever because there's something for everyone. And it's interesting because with Kirby, there's some type of Kirby game
Mhm.
for everyone. If you like pinball, if you like platformers, if you like fighters, apparently, there's something for everyone. And I said this before too. It's a franchise that is so important for younger players to introduce them to what a video game is and how you play it, and just kind of like the language of a video game. That's definitely what it was for me. And so it's exciting to know that there are some players or soon to be players who are about to experience their first video game or Kirby game and have it spark something in their mind and be like, oh, yeah, this is a really cool hobby and a cool medium. And it might even open up a path for some people to become developers eventually. So it's a really important franchise in that way. It may not be the most exciting one for us more weathered players, but it's a very important franchise in Nintendo's lineup. So always a good thing. Um,
Yeah, I think my kind of closing thoughts on this is not necessarily Kirby directly related,
mhm.
but I do feel like the console itself. I think if anything, this kind of signals to me that if they when they finally do bring Metroid Prime 4, it's going to probably be on the next version of the Switch at this point. Like I feel like if it truly is signaling the end of the Switch line, I would almost say that we're going to see Metroid Prime 4 in the next iteration. And maybe it'll be like a Zelda thing where it bridges the gap between the two. It's on both, but you get the better experience on the more powerful console. But I think that if Kirby really is a signal of things starting to wind down for the system and then moving on to the next iteration, that's probably what it spells out. Um, but who knows? We just heard about Bayonetta 3, which is the one that is a bit ghosted for the longest time. So at least we got some news on that. But more on that later.
Right, yeah. No, that's a good point. I don't think about Metroid Prime 4 because the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, so anxious that it's not here and it probably won't be for a while. So it's just like I'm trying to distract myself by not thinking about it. But I think that something that Nintendo is beginning to learn is that when they have a new console launch, it is so imperative that they have a key launch game that is just a hit with everyone.
Mhm.
And so we saw that with the Wii, we saw that with the N64, Super Nintendo, and the Switch with Breath of the Wild. And I
Wii
think
U.
that
if
And
you
the
count
Wii.
Nintendo Land.
Oh, I do not count Nintendo
Okay.
Land. Do
Okay.
you count Nintendo Land?
I don't know. It had a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So
Well, I'm talking about like a major adventure game that
okay.
translated into pretty good sales. I
Okay.
still
Okay.
to this day can't understand why the N64 wasn't even more of a wasn't a better seller than it was, because I always thought it sold quite well. But anyway, um, what I think that one of the key um, features, if you will, of the Switch is that it was launched with Breath of the Wild, one of the
Yeah.
best games of all time. And so I think that they're learning from that, and that you have a point in that it could branch the two generations and could be the key launch title for the Switch 2, because they need to have something for that. And it could be Metroid Prime. It could even be Breath of the Wild 2, or maybe even Mario Odyssey 2, or something related to that. So, yeah, you might be onto something, Ryan. I hope that it does make it to this generation Switch, but at the same time, I won't be too mad if they enhance it for the next generation too. So, yeah, something to keep an eye out for. Josh, did you have any thoughts on that?
Nah, I don't
Okay.
think so from that point.
Okay. Cool. So we'll move on to the next thing. Again, I don't know if this was in order when it was announced, but the next thing on this list, at least, is the Switch Online is going to be branching out with something called the Expansion Pack, which includes, finally, Nintendo 64 games and, ooh, excuse me, and very unexpectedly, Sega Genesis games, which I never even thought about. So
Hmm.
that was really, really cool. Josh, what are your thoughts on that?
All right. Well, on the N64 stuff, I mean, I won't get into it too much, but it is about darn time. Like the Wii had
Hmm.
N64 games in 2006, like when it started up. But besides all that, one thing I was very particularly glad to see that you probably already know, um, was that the whole time it was showing like the list of games for the N64. Most of the usuals popped up, which I love. N64 might be my favorite console. It's one of them. But I was looking for Rare games because Rare then that was when Rare was like super good with Nintendo, and they made a lot of the best N64 games. And there for a while, I didn't see any of them, but thankfully, one of the last things shown when they were like scrolling across some upcoming games was Banjo Kazooie. So thank goodness that's there, and I hope that is a sign of more to come, like Diddy Kong Racing or whatever may come after that. Um, besides that, I'm very happy to possibly be able to play online N64 games. I don't feel like anybody ever really cares to play the NES and the Super Nintendo ones for whatever reason, but I feel like with the N64 that might be a little bit different. I would like to think so anyway. I just feel like it's particularly really good multiplayer console, so I think it could fit that really well. Um, for the Genesis, I like the Sega Genesis, and I'm a Sonic fan and all of that. I just feel like I've had so much access to those already across like everything, including the Switch, which I have the Genesis collection on, and I have like the arcade, not arcade archives, whatever it's called, something of Sonic 2. Basically, I already have Sonic 2 twice on my Switch,
Hmm.
and now it's going to be on this. So I'm not like as excited for that just because I feel like I've gotten those in a lot of different forms, even outside of the Switch. But it could still be cool, especially with online multiplayer.
Hmm.
Um, the only other thing I guess to add to that is the controllers. I never really felt the need with the NES and the Super Nintendo ones, as neat as they are, to buy the wireless controllers, just since like the D-pad and the buttons on the Pro controller or the Joy Cons are just fine. Like they're simple controllers. There's not much to them. I will say with the N64, that makes that a lot more tempting with the C
Hmm.
buttons, because if you've ever played like any of the 64 games on the Wii U, um, or even really with the classic controller on the Wii, it just doesn't quite feel the same, mostly because of the C buttons.
Yeah,
And even the
that's a
Z
great
button
point.
where the Z button is just like, not in the same place. So it feels a little awkward, but $50 is kind of a lot, especially for the Sega Genesis one, which I don't really need. But think about like if you wanted all four controllers, 4 player, with the N64 controllers. That would be $200. So I just I'm trying to talk myself out of it and just deal with what I have. It's neat that it's there. I just think the price is a little high. I feel like I say that about a lot of things, but especially that Genesis one for whoever wants those. $50 is kind of a lot. But anyhow, what do you all think?
Yeah, no, you brought up a lot of really great points. Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, I'm in on the controllers for sure. That 64 controller especially, but I don't want to miss out on a Nintendo branded Sega Genesis controller. That's historical.
I do want
And
to add that. I do want to add that. I thought that was
I never
hilarious.
thought of that. That's a great point. Yeah, that's so
I
weird.
just
That's kind
watched
of like, mhm.
I just watched Console Wars on HBO Max yesterday before the direct, and it was just really ironic that later that day I got to see a Nintendo brand Sega Genesis controller. Like I kind of want that just to have it in the box.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's kind of like seeing the Banjo-Kazooie amiibo, like seeing a Microsoft Nintendo product. It's just so
yeah,
odd.
It's strange.
definitely cool. Price point, they haven't really announced anything for the online stuff. Expansion pack is funny because they had the expansion pack for 64, and I thought that was a fun parallel with the red
Yeah, very
thing
very
there.
clever.
Um, and then one of my biggest question, I know they didn't really talk about too much about what was all included as far as like what you're getting upgraded with, besides just the 64 and the Genesis and stuff like that. I want to know how this carries over to my family plan, if I can get that with my family plan, or if they're trying to phase out the family plan and have individuals. I'm a little worried about that. But or if I can have upgrade each individual person, keep the family plan, but have like certain ones on the plus and certain other ones not on the plus. That would be fun too. I'm not like hurting if I have to like put out more money for my family plan to do the plus for everybody. That's cool. I'll go with that. But I'm a little nervous about that. But the offerings they showed were great. I was, my mind was kind of blown by the fact that Genesis was a part of the online Nintendo Online stuff. But I liked the titles they showed there, especially Echo. I may actually finally get around to playing Echo. I love Tides of Time, the second one, absolutely. I never played Echo Junior either, but this first one, I'm interested in it for sure. Um, it's probably they didn't they showed Mean Bean Machine, but they didn't show Sonic Spinball, so which is fine. I've played all of pretty much those titles. I don't know if there's anything that jumped out at me that I absolutely had to play other than Echo. So it may be something that may not get as much love as the 64 library, but I like the offers they showed and the possibilities of what's to come. The fact that Banjo opens the door for possibilities for Diddy Kong Racing, which means multiplayer online Diddy Kong Racing, which would be great. I get to finally experience Star Fox 64's multiplayer, which I've never been able to do. So that'll be fun. And I know probably there's a chance of like a Donkey Kong 64 to come out someday, and with its own stuff like multiplayer and things like that. We'll see what happens with that. But it's nice that opens the door for that, and also that also means that it opens up to more consoles. So potentially GameCube could come down the line someday. We could be seeing a Dreamcast coming, like a Dreamcast online, which would be insane. Definitely crazy to think. Like there'd even be some crossover if it was like GameCube because you'd have like Sonic Adventure, but then you'd have like would it be on GameCube or would it be on Dreamcast if they did something like that? But just kind of like thinking
Oh
like
yeah.
what other consoles could we have? Like, and we'll never see like PlayStation come over to Nintendo or anything like that. But it's cool to see like an older generation that was a part of the wars just be a potential player in this whole thing. Are we going to
Right.
see the what are they? The Neo Geo or the Turbo graphics stuff, have its own dedicated thing on the console. It just kind of opens the door for what could happen if console continues. I mean, it is basically a paid version, Netflix going forward of their libraries instead of the whole like you own the game, digitally with the virtual console. It's just you get all these games on this library if you subscribe, which is cool.
Yeah. It's yeah, I'm still like processing my thoughts on it because it was an announcement I just never really saw coming, and it's something that we've been wanting for so long, and to finally be at this point is just it's really interesting. I mean, you guys brought up a lot of points that I definitely also share with you, but it was really interesting, especially for me, that Banjo-Kazooie is going to be a launch game on this N64. So on this
Oh,
N64 service. It's really interesting.
I don't
Unless I'm
think it
wrong.
was.
Launch window.
Launch
It's the
window.
I
next
think
one it's the next batch that's planned to be included in the future.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess I'll just revise my thoughts and just say that it is still surprising that Banjo-Kazooie, of all games, is going to be a launch window game for this service, which is
right.
crazy. As we all know,
Hmm.
Microsoft owns it, but it's something that I've been curious about ever since Banjo-Kazooie was announced for Smash is
Hmm.
what is this going to promote? Because usually a Smash character is there to promote some type of future appearance in something, whether it's
Hmm.
a new game, if it were like Banjo-Kazooie 3, or like a remastered version of Banjo-Kazooie on Switch, or something like that. And so I was curious to see what form it would take with that series. And so now we have our answer, at least for now. And it's interesting. I'm. It's not like what I would prefer for Banjo-Kazooie on the Switch, but at the same time, it's still something.
Hmm.
And quite frankly, I did not even expect something like this to ever happen again. The
No.
relationship with Microsoft has gotten a little odd because I understand that I'm sorry, Xbox owners are a little sour about this special treatment that Switch owners have been getting lately. So they're kind
Hmm.
of like dialing back these, special releases like Ori and Cuphead and stuff like that. So at least we still have some type of thing going between those two companies, and that's really important. And to be honest, one of the best things that I have ever seen announced on any Nintendo Direct is the fact that I will be able to play my favorite N64 game
Hmm.
any way that I want.
Hmm.
I have always wanted to play Banjo-Kazooie on the go wherever I want, and I just never thought that would be possible. And here I am today talking about how that is now a reality. It's just unreal talking about this living in the future like that, you know?
Not only
So,
that,
mhm,
not only that, but you're playing it on a traditional N64 controller.
true. If I
The way
get
it
it, I
was
don't
in
know if I will.
the way it was intended, you have that potential, which is cool.
Right.
Um, so that does let's ask the question here. Does this open the door, or at least push it open just a little bit, maybe even a crack, to the possibility of having online multiplayer sessions, playing with your friends, Nintendo Switch Online to GoldenEye 64?
Oh, that's a great point. I mean, it definitely opens the door for it. Will it ever go through that door? I don't know. Uh, I don't know who owns that license. I don't even think they do. I don't know if they even care to even find out who does have it, you know? That would be a huge get for them, but I my thought is that they probably don't think it's worth jumping through all these hoops for a game that would be like kind of meme worthy for like a day, and then people might drop off of it from like after like a month or so. It would be like a trendy little thing for like a month. So I hope they do it. That would be awesome. But at the same time, is it really worth seeking the rights to these things and getting that going? I don't know. I don't know. Um, but some other thoughts that I have is, like Josh said, we've played these Sega Genesis games over and over and over again, and each time that they re-release these things, it's great. So I want to be more excited, but having these games that we already oftentimes own in the form of a subscription is a little odd to me. I'm really happy that these games are there in some form, um, but I'm uncomfortable with my favorite games and these great games being behind a monthly paywall.
Mhm.
Or a subscription. So it's something that I'm still coming to terms with. I just really value ownership, and when I play a game, I want it to be attached to like I don't know. I want to own it, and I don't want my save
I,
file to be attached to something that's temporary. Hopefully that makes
I
sense.
want to. I want it to
Mhm.
be something I can go back to in 15 years,
Right.
and sort of be building that library. Like, I can go back and plug in my N64 or even my Wii U, which isn't as old, granted, but the virtual console games I bought on there are still there. If we want to play Mario Party 2, I can hook up that if I want instead of my 64. I mean, for whatever reason, but
Yeah.
I like having that there. Where with this, which they haven't removed any games yet. I don't know if that's a plan. Like like Netflix would remove movies, but
Oh,
if you
yeah.
quit, if you're not paying that monthly, in 20 years, that's not a service. Are they just going to cut that completely off? Are they just not going to be playable anymore?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, probably. I know one thing is that with Apple Music is if you don't pay your subscription again after 3 months of canceling your service, your entire thing gets wiped, and that's just something that's a little unnerving for me.
Oof.
So, just we're moving into a new era, and it is inevitable that this is going to be the norm. But at the same time, I'm still coming to terms with that after us being, I don't know, quote unquote, spoiled from owning all these things and having these games forever. I'm coming from a collector's attitude to this new era where we have access to all these different games for a cheap price, but we don't own them, and so it's just
Yeah.
something different for me. Um, but something that Josh touched up on is, and maybe even you too, Ryan, is that uh, now that we have these rare games available for this N64, yeah, this N64 service, and yeah, you did touch up on this, Ryan. Um, that'll open up the door for all these other rare games. So I'm curious to see what the rollout on that will be. Like, are we going to get Conker's Bad Fur Day and stuff like
Hmm.
that? So it is very exciting, and I do definitely anticipate TurboGrafx 16 games, which people really need to play those games. It's really awesome. But oh, that's what I wanted to say. This was this like N64 mini that a lot of people were talking about, months and years ago. Something that really complicated those discussions is the fact that Rare owns all these titles, but now we have our answer that Microsoft is willing to be accommodating. So
Hmm.
that's kind of a relief.
It's like
Do you
it's old
guys?
enough that they're not
Mhm.
too attached to it, and it's not super successful in their platform. So why not let Nintendo use that? And you know, eventually they're going to build that. They're cross pollinating. They're building that fan base and those nostalgia potentially for new people playing banjo that like it. To when they're ready, they can bring banjo back in a big way on their platform and maybe bring some more people over to Microsoft in that process.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good way of putting it. Yep. So it's a win-win situation. But going back to what Josh was saying, if Microsoft gets really successful, they could at any point just take away Banjo-Kazooie's rights from Nintendo, and then we won't have access to it on this virtual console thing. So that's something that does worry me. I want Microsoft to do well, but I don't want them to be a little greedy with their franchises.
Mhm.
So anyway, um, I wanted to ask you guys, what are you willing to pay for this extra service? Because I don't think I could do this yearly, if it's too much of a big price. I'm willing to add on like an extra 10, maybe $15 a year for my service, but any more than that, I think I'm out. What about you guys?
I was going to say something similar. Maybe I was going to say honestly, like $5 to $10 maybe. But I mean, I can't really complain too much about the price anyhow for paying yearly. And I am part of a family plan with a couple of friends and my own family, so it really doesn't cost that much. So I can't complain too much about an extra $10 a year. So I'm just I don't know if I have that much faith in them. I'm kind of worried it's going to be substantially more than that. I could be
Mm.
wrong.
Right.
But also, if we're paying, especially if it's a decent amount more, they didn't say anything about this, but I would hope they would actually put that into making their online services better because
Yeah.
a lot of these games lag. Like Mario
Yeah.
Maker 2, I love that game. It's almost impossible to play online because it's awful with the
Really?
lag.
Oh,
The lag
wow.
was really bad on that one, and there's precision platforming in that game. And Smash, I don't really play random people in Smash Brothers. I love the game, but I get my butt kicked a lot online. But
Right.
that one's pretty bad with it. Um,
Right.
I just I would hope that if they want us to pay more money, that they would make that the online capabilities a little better in some
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're going to increase the price, it better translate to better online play. But quite frankly, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be the same, and it'll just be a slow rollout over the years of it getting slightly better. And I think this price is just to pay for the cost of these new added
Right.
games. But um, one thing that worries me is that with the NES and SNES game releases, when those were announced, it was like, oh, cool, we're going to get all these games and they're going to add more every month or so. And that died down so
Ugh.
quickly. So it's like,
Hmm.
I don't want this to be another tease like that. I'm very
No.
excited for the titles that they've launched, but I don't want to get my hopes up about all these other potential games if they're just going to drag it on for years and years to come. Like, it's so frustrating.
It could be 3 4 months from now before we would get, well, whenever it starts, I guess in October, before
Right.
we would even get like F-Zero X that they showed off,
Right.
and that's
Exactly.
it.
Hmm.
That's it. They dropped that one Super Nintendo game that nobody remembers,
Yeah,
and then
seriously.
they wait another 3 or 4 months until the next drop. So it very well could be that.
Yeah, and then maybe we won't get anything for a year, and we'll just get like Earthworm Jim 64 or some other game that like no one cares that much about.
Glover.
But
Yeah,
right, well, Glover's good. But
I think.
It's
Ryan, what are
interesting.
your thoughts?
I think I'm willing to pay like 50 or 60 a year for the
Oof.
family plan.
Oh,
For the
okay.
family plan.
For the family plan, yeah.
Um,
I was like,
and
whoa,
I'm
mama.
absolutely cool with that. Up to a point, as long as they do fix the online. But I am of the mind that because the dock has an update feature with the new OLED, and they can update the LAN port, I'm thinking that that might help in some way with their infrastructure with online play. And I don't know what exactly updating that would do, but I would imagine that if you're playing hardlined in, like maybe there's something that could help with the online experience with that. But again, you have to get the hardware and upgrade to that to really get that experience. But at the same time, like who knows if that even affects it? But I'd like to see their
Right.
infrastructure fixed.
And
Honestly, it does need to be fixed.
Yeah.
everyone that's playing the game has to have that upgrade. Like if one person, the way it works, I don't completely understand how it works, but I think it's peer to peer, or is it not peer to peer? Anyway,
It depends
the
on the
way
Uh,
game. Fighting games are peer to peer for sure.
okay, the way
okay.
I understand it is like if one person, has lag, everybody's screwed. That
Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
not
that'll be
server based.
interesting. Okay, gotcha. You see, I don't even know any of this stuff, so that's good to know. Um, but I will say, just to wrap up this Switch Online thing, I'm pretty pleased with the games that they do have announced. One that I've never heard of is Winback. Do you guys know anything about Winback?
I was curious about that.
I
Yeah,
do not.
I
I
don't know.
don't know what it
I took it as, oh, there's the random weird one that nobody played.
Right.
But I mean, I could be wrong. It could be a hidden gem for all I know. I'll play it. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
I
I'm gonna
want
look
Tonic
into it.
Trouble.
Yes.
I want
That
Well,
Tonic
would be a
Trouble to
nice,
come.
nice
t
it, you know.
Tonic
So
Trouble is
random.
basically like the first draft of Rayman 2. So I
Yeah.
would say just play Rayman 2. But I mean, I'm so happy that they're continuing to re-release Sin and Punishment. I can't say enough good things about that game, and I think
It is
more
a fun
people need
game.
to play it. Ryan, how dare you? Ryan just shook his head. I hate you.
It was I
It's
played
fun.
it on the Wii and it was all right, but it was
That's the
short. So,
sequel, right?
was it
And
this? Was it?
the
I
sequel's
played the
fun
Virtual
too.
Console version, whichever.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're thinking of the I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I played
Um,
the first one. I didn't play the
I,
second one, but
okay.
it was short, and that was my big complaint with it was it didn't last long enough for me to really enjoy it.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll say I enjoy it. I think it's fun. The story
Mhm.
was weird as heck and not my
Right?
cup of tea. Especially by the end, I was like, I don't know what the heck is happening. And I'm
Right.
is this I don't even know if this is child friendly. I don't know what this is, but the game's fun.
Yeah, yeah. I will say it's interesting because I did have it on the Wii Virtual Console. I didn't play it that much just because like the classic controller that they had was really uncomfortable. That like
Hmm.
that soap bar kind of thing. But when I
It's a good way
played
to
it,
put it.
right? But I did re-buy it on the Wii U and it plays so much better on the gamepad surprisingly. And
Huh.
I've had a whole episode on how I feel about the gamepad, but
Yeah.
I will say, for Sin and Punishment, if you like remap the controls, it plays so well. So I do recommend
Hmm.
that for anyone who's curious about the game. I think it's still available.
Remap. Hmm.
Yeah. hmm One great thing about the Wii U Virtual Console, at least. Um, and I will say the Sega Genesis lineup is excellent. Like Castlevania Bloodlines,
Yes, I
Contra
forgot about that.
Hardcore, right? And Gunstar Heroes. And I will say one game I really am I was baffled by when they announced this. Musha. I feel like nobody knows Musha, and everyone has every right to not know about this game, but I remember when the Wii Virtual Console was shutting down, I did all my research on all these different games to make sure that I spent my final points wisely.
Hmm.
And when I looked up Musha, I was like, okay, this is going to be my final game. And I am so happy that I spent the money on Musha. It is a phenomenal top-down shoot 'em up, whatever the word is. I guess shoot 'em up,
Shmup.
right?
Shmup.
Yes, shmup. It is amazing. The soundtrack is incredible. The graphics are incredible. So when that comes out, please try Musha.
You got it.
Musha. So good. Yep. Cool. So I guess we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, so the next thing is Bayonetta 3. I know Josh has a lot of really positive things to say about this game, so we'll start with Josh.
uh, I'm just trying to think of what to say. Like, I'll
Why
just
don't I
say
go first, and then you
I
can
have.
and then
Well,
you can contradict what I say.
mine will be short. Mine will be short.
Okay.
I,
I'm
I,
sure it
I
will be.
actually have tried the first game on Game Pass a little while back.
Okay.
Um, it was okay. Um, I just I don't know exactly what it is, so don't ask. For some reason, the character herself irritates me. I don't I don't know why. It's just I don't know if it's because she. I won't even get into it. She's just
She's very expressive.
yeah. I just I'm not a fan. Maybe it's her attitude or something. Just kind of irks me.
Mm,
And really looking at the games themselves, like that. I mean, I understand like if you do like it, but some of the art style and things just it's not catching me. I don't know how
mm.
else to
Mhm.
explain it. I don't even know if I can fully understand why. It wasn't really my thing, I guess. So
Okay.
I'm not a big, and I don't even mean this against anybody who are fans of them or that team themselves. I don't seem to be much of a fan of Atlas, but
It's not Atlas though.
or not Atlas. I'm sorry,
Platinum?
Platinum Game.
Wait, really? You're not a Platinum Games fan?
I can
It's
feel that.
hit and miss. It's very hit and miss with them for me. It's not
Okay.
one of my favorites. There are some things they've worked on that I really do like, but
Like, I mean, you don't like Star Fox Zero? No, I'm kidding.
no. Hold on. No,
He was
well,
gonna answer
all
that
right. I'm gonna
seriously.
be the weird one here because I actually kind of like that game.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm
I mean,
apparently
it's fine.
backwards with their games, but
I
I'm
won't
not saying
argue
it's
with that.
great. Before I make it any worse,
Well,
what's
so
your
what do you
thoughts?
let's take like the themes and the art style and all that stuff. Let's take that out of it. What did you think of the gameplay of the Bayonetta games? Or at least the
The,
first one that you played?
just the very little bit I played was pretty interesting. Um,
Okay.
I'm
And
trying
if
to detach myself from. I feel like part of what I just sort of stopped playing and moved on to something else. There wasn't really a big reason.
mm,
I
Mhm.
feel like part of it was maybe honestly just kind of the setting felt kind of like samey. I
okay.
was getting kind of bored. I
Okay.
don't know. I kind of get why you would like it, but I don't know. There's just something not clicking.
I hope
Mhm.
everyone can hear how Josh and I try very hard to be respectful to each other when we disagree
Well,
strongly on some
I
things.
do. I do. I respect. I, there are things we all disagree on, and I respect everybody here on that. I
I
also just try not
appreciate
to
you,
say
Josh. You
things
know
that
that.
will come across wrong. So,
No, I honestly do understand your perspective on it. So, it's, when it comes to games or just even things in general, that we like and don't like, we shouldn't really have to justify it and really explain ourselves. Sometimes we just like something, sometimes we just don't like something, and that's
Mhm.
totally okay. When it comes to Bayonetta, I absolutely love the first and second game. They are just visually stunning to me. I had a friend over who doesn't even like video games, and she thought I was like watching a movie. She couldn't believe it was a video game. Um, and the gameplay is really awesome. It's an action game, as many of us know, and it's just so over the top and crazy that it's like part serious but part funny. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just so weird and wild, and I love it for that reason. The character is just very sassy and expressive, like I said, I guess if we could put it that way, and I just find that very, I don't know, I guess entertaining and kind of I don't know, interesting and cool and I don't know, brave in a way because it is like a
Mhm.
Nintendo franchise in a way. So I just think it's interesting and different and rebellious, I guess you could say. When it comes to the art style, I can understand what you mean by that, Josh, because at first I was just like, oh, this is a little too like anime for me. You know, it's like it's
Yeah.
these character designs that are these tropes that I already understand, but they have this weird twist on them, like with these weird faces and body parts in different places that we're not really used to. But at the same time, there's just something really charming and endearing about that to me. So it for me, Bayonetta is a mix of like what I'm comfortable with and what is new to me and what will help me branch out and try new things. Josh and I have established.
It's
I hope you don't mind me uh, calling you out on this, Josh, but Josh and I
it's
have
fine.
a hard time with understanding anime. We're not the biggest anime fans. I hope you don't mind me sharing that, Josh.
It,
Um,
it's the it's the
mhm.
tropes. It's I won't get into
Yeah,
that. That's a whole other conversation. Some things I can get.
sure.
Long story. I kind of joke about it and be a little extra harsh for fun, but
Right.
yeah, like with Bayonetta, it's maybe some of it's that over the topness for me.
Mm,
Like I can handle some like extreme, just kind of nonsensical chaos, whatever. I like Doom. I find fun in those games, especially the newer ones.
yeah.
But Bayonetta is like a different style and just doesn't quite.
It sure is.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
don't know how to explain it.
I think it's the personality that she adds to it, which really changes things up, and it's hit or miss. It's either you like it or you don't. For me, I like it, and I can understand if you don't, and if it doesn't, mesh with you, that's totally okay. Nothing to be ashamed of at all. But I just find it to be a very interesting franchise that I'm surprised is getting a third iteration. I think that the game, it didn't look too great in the graphics department. I think that what they have there, they have a great foundation. And they just have to like refine some textures and stuff like that. But the monsters mechanic that they showed off, where you have like control of these beasts, I thought that was so cool.
Mhm.
Because in the other
Yeah.
games, like you have those as like little appearances and cameos and you just like summon something really quickly, but you don't have control over them. Here, you have control over them. And it kind of harkens back to like when I was a little kid and loved like Power Rangers and all that kind of crap where you have control over these massive things. And so that was kind of nostalgic and a weird twist for Bayonetta. So I'm
Mhm.
so insanely excited for Bayonetta 3. And if you're in our Facebook group, you can see that I got the what's it called? The oh god, the Climax edition. So I'm a proud owner of the Climax edition of Bayonetta 1 and 2. And I don't know, it's just a series that just really excites me. And it's very bold, and I just love it for that. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
I don't have much invested in Bayonetta at all. It looks pretty. It looks cool. The mechanics sound interesting. The whole witch mechanics, okay. Like the fact that her clothing is weird, but I got nothing against it. I think it's a pretty cool idea. Very, very action. Like what's the word? Cutscene heavy. Um, flashy. It's a graphically awesome action game. And so that's really cool. I'm glad that Nintendo got that when they did. I'm still salty about the whole Smash Brothers inclusion, but being the most
Really?
popular player, I still cry foul there. But I think
Oh
that
wow.
that aside, it's a very worthy franchise and everything. So I don't
Yeah.
definitely don't knock it.
Okay. I mean, one last thing that I'll add about it is add to this conversation is that for me, Bayonetta is really cool because I love action games, but I find them to be a little hard to play. They can be a little convoluted and hard for me to grasp like what to do. And with Bayonetta, it's interesting because there's all these different things going on, and it's all crazy and over the top, and like Ryan said, flashy and stuff. But it's really easy to understand and know how to play. Like you just know what you're doing. You feel like you're in control, and it makes you feel so much more powerful than you would think. Like you can get so much done just by like even button mashing. And if you figure out how to use the controls strategically, it makes you feel even more powerful. And there's
Mm.
more customization the more you learn. So yeah, very cool, like beginners action game, which is very unexpected. I would have figured it'd be for like for advanced players, but yeah, I love Bayonetta, and if you think that it's a game that might be for you, give it a try. I really do recommend it, but it might not be for you, so can't help but to give it a try. Cool. I think the next thing that we'll talk about is Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 gameplay was revealed, and the single player campaign was also revealed. Um,
Mm.
I, I mean, I don't have too much to say beyond the fact that I'm just thrilled and insanely excited for Splatoon 3. I adore this franchise. I love the single player campaigns of the games, and even though it's like such an unnecessary addition to both games, I just love that it's there. I
Mm.
think with two, they just went above and beyond what they needed to do for that, and it's just such a great experience and really teaches you how to play with the different mechanics of the game. And I love Splatoon. The more I can get of it, the better. Like I just love that world and the style and the music, and it was just such a treat to see more of that. So that was a nice little unexpected treat. Did not expect to see that
Mm.
here, and I did like seeing these mammalians. I don't know what that is, but it'll be cool to see how that unfolds. So, Ryan, I know you probably have a lot to say on that. So how do you feel about Splatoon 3?
I don't have a lot of stuff to say on it, honestly.
Oh, okay.
I liked what I saw. It looked more Splatoon. I'm glad they showed off one player. The furry, the fuzzy creatures was like okay, so they got a furry skin. Like, what's the difference? Like, what does that matter in the grand scheme of things? I don't know. It didn't really catch my eye too much there, but I did like. I need to go back and watch the trailer for that specifically because there's a lot of stuff in the background that I wasn't really paying attention to. I was more scanning to see what more anything that I could on the new furry like mechanic with all the like it just look weird. Like
Yeah, it was
why do the
weird.
tentacles sprout hair? But
Right.
and then there's that time where you get hit by something and you became like hairy too. I'm like, this is an interesting concept, and I'm kind of I don't no idea what where they're going with
I
this, but
know.
it's quirky, and I absolutely love that they brought back the lab research guy, and that they
Right.
have like different people do that. That's I love that they play that up, and it's a treat every time.
Right.
Um,
Is he a
but
secret agent or is he like a lab tech or both?
he's a lab tech. They
Okay.
just all have the cool glasses and everything. I think the only other thing that I really took from it was I'm really excited for the grappling hook whip thing.
True.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
great. If it's just tied to the like the sniper stuff, the railgun stuff, like cool. I'll get used to it because I really like being able to get that verticality to be able to like cling to walls and get to higher places really fast and just there's more maneuverability with that and I'm all for it. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand. With Splatoon 1, 2, and now 3, the more I think of it, this game is running off of like probably the same engine. So all three of these games kind of have the same graphics. It's not like we're jumping from, Super Mario World to Mario 64 to Mario Sunshine. There's not this increase in graphical fidelity. So every time we get a trailer of these types of games, it's kind of like a little samey. But like you said, Ryan, it's probably important for us to go back and look at the small details of what they're announcing. So even something as weird as the Harry thing, it just really does add to the personality that Splatoon provides for us. So Yeah. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would guess the hairy thing goes back to the what were they called? Mammalians or mammals? I forget what they call.
Mammalians?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that means mammals. And in that world there are no mammals, so it's like the
Except for
return
two,
of.
the
Okay, that's
cats.
true. That's
Oh
true.
wow, he
Judd and
really
Penny
was
Judd.
prepared for that.
So I guess it has to do with that, you know. But anyhow, yeah, I'm really excited for it. Splatoon is one of those series that got me to play online games almost in general. Like I just even now I usually don't really love playing online focus games against like I just don't like playing people I don't know because it just doesn't it's not as fun as like if my friend shoots me in a game. It's funny, we both laugh, we argue, whatever, it's a good time. But like when just some butthole does it online that just has played the game too much and then like has a crappy attitude, it's just not fun to me. I just don't really enjoy playing online people. But for Splatoon, for the most part, granted, I have had some very frustrating matches. For the most
Mhm,
part, I've really loved it since the first one came out. Um, my wife even got into it, which is a pretty big deal. So that's one of the reasons she bought her own Switch was Splatoon 2. She's
mhm.
actually got the Splatoon 2 and the box and all that. But and we spent a ton of time in that one. I've never missed a Splatfest since the first one in the first game.
Oh wow.
Um, I don't if they did like redos of some of them. I'm not sure if I did all those, but I've
Yeah.
done all the big official Splatfest at least for a couple matches just to say I did it. Um, so yeah, I'm a big fan. I like the single player a lot too. Like I know it doesn't get talked about much, and it is pretty short in both 1 and 2, but I really enjoyed it. I hope it, and it looks like it might be. I hope with 3 the levels feel a little bit less like it's warping you to just some like boxed in like challenge, and
Right.
maybe it feels a little more cohesive, perhaps.
Yeah, like fleshed
Um,
out and stuff like that. Yeah.
but yeah, maybe a little longer, but I wouldn't need too much all that different. I really like the world they were going for, the extra collectibles that let you dive more into the lore. I thought all of that stuff was really cool, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm wondering too if there's going to be another like salmon run type mode, or if
Mhm.
salmon run's coming
Mm,
back because that one's one we really dumped some time into.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
They showed
yeah,
like the ice level for that, which is interesting.
yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting.
but and Ryan mentioned the grappling hook thing, and I couldn't tell. I've only watched the trailer like one and sort of a half times. I wasn't paying much attention the second time.
Yeah.
But I was curious. I didn't see it too much outside of one part, so probably not. But I was curious if that's like a new mechanic, just you always have, like
Mhm.
there's a button to do that now, like to stick
Oh
to
yeah.
walls and stuff. It might not be. It might be a sub, or it might be something tied to a
Yeah.
specific weapon type. But it did look like a pretty neat new mechanic. If that is the case, it could really change up the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Did
Great
you
point.
you brought up Splatoon 2 and playing that a lot. Did you, take out the secret boss in Splatoon 2's, DLC?
um, no, I know who you're talking about now,
I
and
have yet to be able to do that myself,
I
and
don't
so
know why I never did. I forgot to mention, yeah, the DLC on that's actually really good.
Hmm.
Um, the and the final boss on that's cool. Um, I think with that it got like really insanely difficult. Like I fully completed the single player on there, like the regular single player. I think I upgraded all the guns as far as you
Mhm.
could and all that good stuff. But no, on the DLC, I didn't get everything as much as I really loved it. I'm trying to remember. It's been quite a while since I've tried it, but I'm thinking there were a few challenges that were just like insanely difficult that I
Mhm.
just eventually kind of lost interest in.
Yeah. So for me at least, like, kind of zooming out just a little bit, like Splatoon 1 was just an awesome experience, but it was like the first time that they kind of tried this new series. And with Splatoon 2, I feel like it's not really Splatoon 2 as much as it is Splatoon 1.5. They just like really refined all the things from Splatoon 1 and just made everything so much better. So it'll be interesting to see if this is like Splatoon 1.5 0.5, or if this is just like a whole completely new revamp of this series and just a massive leap forward. So yeah, like all the things that you guys mentioned with the mammalians and the grappling hook and all these other things, it'll be so interesting to see, what this franchise becomes with all the additions that they're including, because the gameplay between 1 and 2 is like pretty much the same. It's just like a little bit more refined if we're talking about like the online gameplay. But they really do need to kind of switch things up for this to be a justified purchase for a lot of people. If it's more of the same, great. I'll probably still get it, but like more people are going to need a significant more amount of content than just that. So I hope they knock it out of the park. I think that they will, but it's just crazy that we're getting 2 Splatoons on one console generation and towards the tail end too. So I wonder if it'll be like remastered for the Switch 2, and then we'll be able to play, across generations or something. So
Mhm.
anyway, cool. So looking forward to Splatoon 3 for sure. I definitely want to get Josh's thoughts on this. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak is an expansion pass announced for Monster Hunter Rise. Josh and I did an episode on that where I kind of interviewed him about his thoughts on the game. So, Josh, what do you think about
Sure.
this DLC?
Well, that game is probably still my game of the year, so to speak, so far this year.
Nice.
Oh
Um,
wow, cool.
we'll see where Metroid, what Metroid does to that.
Yeah,
Um, it's a new series to me. I've already kind of talked about that. Um, I've gotten, I haven't played it much in a good while because I kind of got to a point. I put about 80 hours into it, and I beat the main story. There's like an more online focused area. I cannot remember the name of it now. It's been a couple months since I've really dug into it. But anyhow, you can rank up in it. And long story short, I've gotten myself sort of stuck where I'm playing solo, and it just gets crazy hard. And I feel like it almost requires extra people to get through. So I'm a little bit worried about this, where like I'm not going to be able to handle it. It's just going to be too hard.
Mm.
But I could be wrong, and there's probably something I'm not doing quite correctly. Our friend Traven mentioned that you know they were able to do it solo, so there's probably just something I don't feel like, even after playing that game for 80 hours, I feel like there's some things I don't fully understand,
right.
Mhm.
and I just never really have, and I've managed to get away with it for this long.
Right. Well, it's great
But
that you've played as much as you have, because this is a game, and we've said it a million times, where it's just not the most approachable game. So it's kind of disheartening. I don't know if that's the right word, to hear that you, after playing so many hours, are still kind of struggling to really get a grasp of if you're doing everything correctly. So I don't know. I do hope that in the near future they do smooth things out so that it's great for more hardcore players, but also approachable for newcomers, because that's kind of why I didn't get into Monster Hunter Rise. I know there's a lot of great game there, and perhaps even
there
Ryan
is,
too, but it's just like it's so difficult to really grasp what this game is asking of you. So I don't know. I do hope that the DLC brings some positive changes to you, Josh.
yeah, the DLC itself, I hope it is does have some more story focused stuff in it, and it's not a big problem to play solo or anything like that.
Hmm.
The story itself in the game sort of just kind of stops after a while. It I kind of want to say it has a cliffhanger. I don't know how else to really word it. It's just kind of like, oh, we're done, but it
Right,
doesn't feel done.
Mhm.
So
right.
I hope it continues that in a nice clean way, and gives you some sort of real ending.
Yeah,
Um,
closure. Yeah.
Outside of that, though, I mean, like outside of those potential issues, I think it looks interesting. There wasn't a whole lot of details, but the area, I think they said there was 2 new areas, so I'm happy about that. I like getting on there sometimes and just exploring, just sort of mindlessly going and finding junk. Um,
Yeah.
so I was really happy to hear there was 2 new areas. The one they showed both, I can't remember. I think they said one was a snowy one. I can't remember. Maybe I'm mixing. No, I'm mixing up with Mario Golf. Anyhow, um, the area they showed looked very different from any other area that's already in the game. It didn't really look like Monster Hunter at first. when it first popped up on the screen. So I'm excited to see that, um, to see a potentially just completely new sort of place to go visit.
Yeah. It did look really beautiful, so I just wonder if it's gonna take up a lot of memory because, the game's very detailed and beautiful, but if they're gonna add a whole lot to the game, which I do hope they do, it's probably gonna take up a lot of memory, but,
Yeah.
that is such a, minor nitpicking thing, just kinda something that I think about as a Switch owner, but, moving right along to the next announcement, unless you have something to share, Ryan?
Um, no, I don't have any input on that one just because I haven't played it outside the demo. So
Yeah, same. Yeah. Okay. Well, the next announcement is something that I wish I could say a lot more on, but we can't really talk about it for a while. The next Super Smash Bros. Ultimate final DLC fighter, the last one ever for Smash Ultimate, is going to be revealed in quote early October end quote. So, October 5th to be precise. And actually, they give you a specific time, 10 a.m.
On
Eastern
a
Standard
Tuesday.
Time. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. So they are prepared from what I can gather. So I wish that we did find out who the last character was. I was expecting that, but honestly, I'm okay with waiting just a tiny bit longer and
quite the
getting a
tease.
confirmation that we will know who it is,
I,
or like we will know who it is and when that will be.
I think good
So
or bad, it would have
mhm,
distracted too much from everything else in this direct. I just know how that
yeah,
goes.
Mhm.
Even though it's just the DLC character for a game that has 80 plus characters, I know how that goes.
Do you
yes,
have any concern that it would have caused some backlash and put a negative tone on the direct if they had put something on there? Because I feel like nothing's going to live up to anyone's
yeah,
expectations there.
I'm not
ab-
gonna lie, I think so, and I'm not even gonna deny that it wouldn't have affected my look on the
It
direct.
yeah,
I've felt
was a
absolutely.
that way
wise move.
before.
I
I'm not
mean, like,
trying to be a butt, but like E3 2019, I thought was a really good direct. But
right.
and you know what? I've played a little bit of Dragon Quest. It's good, and I'll give it the fact that it is worthy of being in Smash. It completely is. But I was a little bit bummed, almost. I feel like the whole direct when I felt like Banjo should have been there, and then he showed up
Yeah,
at the end anyway. If he wouldn't have showed up at the end, though, I feel like that would have dampened the whole thing for me. So
true.
that's my
That's a
own
great,
fault.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't show it, no matter who it was.
That's a great point. I mean, honestly, if yeah, the more I think about it, I feel like a direct is like a direct's value, and I know this is wrong, is pretty closely related to the type of character that they reveal in these directs. Now that I think of it, so like
Oh,
Pyra and Mithra, I don't remember that direct because I couldn't stop thinking about how baffled I was that these people were included. But I
I
will
was
say. Mhm. What's up, Josh?
sorry. I'm sorry I interrupted you again there, but that on that direct, I've tried to forget that and just think about a new Mario Golf. So
True.
I won't say completely ruined it for me because and again, it's just not my thing. But
Right.
it did. I would almost rather them have just waited on the Smash character.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um, but like with E3 of this year, I feel like if Metroid Dread wasn't included, we would have been really, really annoyed with that entire E3 presentation because
Mm.
what's his name? Kazuya kind of set the tone in a way for the presentation for a while. So yeah, I think that's a good point that you bring up, Ryan. But yeah, it was kind of wise for them to kind of put it off into its own separate thing so that we can judge these two presentations separately. But I have no idea who this character is going to be. Can
Nope.
I give you guys your thoughts on who you think this final character is going to be?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and jump in first.
Hmm.
um, I got my most wanted with Banjo and Kazooie. No one can take that from me. um, I won't go over like the whole list and everything. There is some others I want for sure. I think it's insane that Crash Bandicoot isn't here yet. Or Rayman. Ubisoft's got nothing. Um, and a few others. And I don't know if this is just me trying to lessen my excitement or my hype. I have a feeling it's going to be someone from like Shimigami Tensei or something. They seem to really like that series, and I just feel like that's the kind of thing Sakurai would choose over all these other ones.
Yeah, maybe. Um,
So that's my guess. I also, for some reason, think that Phoenix Wright has a slight chance.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought, like, not to jump in on you, Josh, but I feel like he could have worked. I mean, I don't really want him, to be honest, but if he were to be included, I feel like he would have been already. I don't think that Nintendo's too keen on having him be the final Smash
Well,
character with his own presentation. Like, here he is, guys, Phoenix Wright. I just don't really see that happening,
they
but
ended the last one with Bayonetta and Corrin. So
Mhm.
uh,
I
I
don't
don't
know if they
know.
cared.
Yeah.
I
I don't
don't
know. I
know.
feel like Bayonetta is a separate
Bayonetta is a
argument,
bigger one, I guess. That's true. But
you know.
another one, and I'll be done after this. Another one that a name that I feel like has floated around a lot is it Ryo Hayabusa? I'm probably saying that
Oh,
wrong. The
yeah,
Ninja
that's what I was
Gaiden.
thinking. Yep.
I think he
Uh,
has a decent chance, which I don't really care one way or another. He's it's it's pretty cool. I just
yeah.
you know it's not one of my choices, but it's fine.
Yeah, I think Josh and I, Josh and I have like the same opinions on these like Smash fighters and who we would prefer and not really care for. So a lot of what Josh said, I totally agree with. I do think that Ryu Hayabusa has a chance, but at the same time, I'm thinking if this is Smash Ultimate's final character, I think it's going to be a Nintendo character, and I honestly have no idea who that could be to kind of send things off in a satisfying way. But I can't help but think that Geno from Super Mario RPG might be it because this is a character that people have been wanting for a very long time. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. I think he's a cool design, but at the
He
same
is.
time, he has like a Mii fighter costume, so there's that. But people have been wanting this character for a long time, and I can't really see any other satisfying character reveal happening outside of like Waluigi. But like, as much as I like Waluigi, I'd be kind of like bummed because like he just doesn't offer that much. Like, unless they give him like a lot of personality to his moveset, I don't know. So I,
Gino, I think, would be a great fan way to end the thing.
yeah,
And I like him. I like that game he's from. He's a cool, unique character.
right,
I don't think it'll happen mostly because of the me costume.
right,
Um, but weirder things have happened, and I think that's just sort of a fan role. I mean,
yeah.
I cannot think of the character's name, and I should know it. The guy from Tekken, the dad.
Kazuya. Kazuya.
What is it?
Kazuya.
The new
Kazuya's
Oh,
guy
Heihachi.
who's
Oh,
actually in it.
Heihachi.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
the
Heihachi. Yeah,
main
yeah, yeah.
character. Thank you. Actually,
Right.
he was a me costume like at the beginning of the second wave of characters, whoever it was. I can't remember who he came with.
Yeah,
And a lot of people were like, "Well, Tekken's not in," and then a
right.
Tekken character showed up a few characters later. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that means much of anything.
yeah.
We'll
Good
see.
point. Yep. So Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Okay. I don't really have a super prediction here. Just more thoughts on it. I want it to be. This is the like going out with a bang, or like it's the end of the ultimate Smash Brothers game. So I want it to make an impression. I'm worried that it's not going to hit that, and perhaps like over any character that I could ever want in the game, like I want it to just do it justice for it being like the capstone for the whole like legacy of this game, and perhaps the whole series. There's probably more after it, but just I want it to make a big impact. Whether it's something that celebrates Sakurai, maybe they have a Sakurai character that's completely unique with its own unique moves and stuff like that. That would be cool. Like if they, do some obscure Nintendo character, cool. Like if they do like Taboo in some form, or they do like Master Hand, like some weird combination where you have Crazy Hand, Master Hand, Taboo, or something like just some weird like amalgam of that, or something that celebrates Smash Brothers as a whole would be really
Yeah.
awesome. I absolutely love that. And for the same reason that I don't think Geno is going to be a thing. Like I don't think Waluigi is going to be a thing. As much as I'd like that, I feel like it'd be pandering to the trolls, and there are people that generally want Waluigi to have his time in the spotlight. but I think I don't want him in Smash. I mean, he's already in there as a trophy,
Mm.
so he does show up there.
As
So
a
I'd really
trophy, they
want
don't
to
have
see him.
trophies anymore. Oh, like an
Not
assist
like assist
trophy.
trophy. Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
Okay,
trophy.
sorry.
Yeah, he comes out as an assist trophy, so, like, I don't think that he's gonna have representation as an actual fighter. It's possible, but I don't know, I
He would go ahead.
it's such a trolly thing to do, and yes, it would be like I could see the internet just exploding on both sides, of that, and yes, it would be fun to watch that, but ultimately, like, I'd rather see Waluigi get his time with his own game as a villain or what have you, or, like, maybe a duo with Wario and Waluigi, but,
Mhm.
I don't really want that fighter to be the final one, like, if it would've been, like, in Kazuya's place, sure, but, this final one, I just wanted to do the series justice and really be, like, meaningful and impactful, to
Yeah,
everybody. And if it is some third party character, like, okay, cool, but I just feel like it's not going to hit really strong for me, and I'm a little worried about that.
yeah, yeah. I just
Waluigi would need his own stage from the Mario series that's
right.
already there, and a spirit board from the Mario series that's already there.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Good point.
don't feel like he would feel like a good part of the package.
He
And
probably wouldn't
music
bring enough
too.
to the game.
Music is a big part of these DLC characters, and what
He doesn't have anything.
soundtrack really follows him outside of like Waluigi Pinball, that stage from Mario Kart 7, which is great, but like,
Mario Party
Yeah.
3 is a pretty cool Waluigi stage, I'm not gonna lie.
oh, sure, you're right.
That's
Well,
about it
I
though.
I really don't think it's gonna be Waluigi. I feel like
Yeah. There's too
we
many things
agree on
saying
that.
no.
Yeah. Like if he is fine, but like I don't know, I feel like there's classier ways of doing this. No offense to any
Mhm.
Waluigi fans cuz we all like him, I think, but I just feel like there's better ways of handling this and what I would prefer is for there to be an inclusion of like a more historic character. I really like when they
Mhm.
end Smash Brothers rosters with something like that, like with Duck Hunt, or Mr. Game and Watch from Melee. I really like that, that history that you get out of it. But if they can do something like that, like when it was rumored that the Excitebike guys, or no, not Excitebike, gosh, what's that game? Like, oh, Mock Rider. Mock Rider
Mhm.
was rumored to be, and I thought that was like a pretty cool idea. But I just hope that whatever character they include, that it's satisfying enough for most players and not some random character that no one ever thought about, that is like from some super obscure franchise that no one cares that much about. Um, I hope that it's done in a classy way. So we shall
I
see, but
I
it'll
don't
be
think it would
interesting no matter
be
what.
I would rather it be Sakurai, like, who put all the work into it, less
Right.
so than a memory character like, Iwata or something like that. Like, that
Hmm.
would be hard, plus who wants to be up on Iwata? But Sakurai, yeah, everyone wants to be up on Sakurai because he's so good and can play, like, 2 characters at once and stuff, and, like, they wanna challenge him, That's a
Yeah,
formidable fighter, So I don't think it's
that's
gonna
an
be like a
interesting one.
in-memory character, but probably something that's more relevant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no matter who it is, the internet is going to explode that day.
I hope.
So we can look forward to that. Yeah, true.
On
So
the 5th.
that'll be fun. Yep. So we'll probably follow up this episode with something related to that announcement. So the next thing I wanted to bring up is Animal Crossing will get its own direct in October, and it's clear that Brewster and the Roost are going to be coming
Yay.
soon. So that's really great news for Animal Crossing fans. Um, my quick take on it is that I would be in love and all over Animal Crossing if something like this was added a long time ago.
Yeah.
For me, at least, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a great Animal Crossing game, but I feel like New Leaf and the Welcome Amiibo edition still are just better takes on Animal Crossing, in my opinion. Although I do like the crafting mechanic and stuff, but I feel like New Horizons is missing out on so much stuff, and like we've said in our group chat, this is one of the best selling Switch games, period. And it's only been out for a little over a year. And it will be the best selling Switch game ever, period, shortly. So these updates have been very meager and have not provided the content that we have been clamoring for. And it's just really strange to me because Animal Crossing is not Bayonetta 3. It's not insanely graphically intensive and involves all these little details and stuff. It's a very simple game, and I'm just confused as to why these updates are so paltry and just not like there's just not much to them. So anyway, I'm very happy that Brewster is coming. He's one of my favorite characters. I love the roost. I love the concept of like a cafe in an Animal Crossing game. It really completes that like cozy feeling that you get from these games. I just hope that with this update, it brings us more of what we have been wanting out of these updates for
Mhm.
I mean, since the game was released, we were promised all these updates and they just have not lived up to our expectations. So happy that it's finally happening, but I really, they've lost. I've lost faith in these updates, to be honest, but I will withhold judgment until it gets released. So, what do you think, Ryan?
I'm hoping that this comes with something special, than just, like, going there and just drinking something and that's it, other than, like, the initial stuff, like, you win Brewster over, like, he's pretty introverted and quiet, and talking to him enough times, like, he'll start to open up to you and become your friend. Once you've gotten to that point, though, what value is there? I know that KK Slider hung out there in the past game, and it was, like, a big thing, you could watch him, like, play and stuff, and it was just really chill environment. What are we gonna have, going into this cafe, in addition? And it's cool to play pretend and to go in there and sit on the couches and drink, coffee or whatever. But is it going to have something more to it than that? Something just kind of generally fun and adding to the game. And also, I just want to see a roadmap for what they have planned coming up. And if they have any major things like they're going to be doing. I want to see a little bit more of what they have cooked up now that they've given some time. Apparently, there's been some data mining stuff, so we kind of knew Brewster was coming. If you followed any of that there was like two different data mines that were done, where they came up with some stuff for that. But there's also like some other crops and things that didn't really show up, and it hasn't shown up in the game. Some games, some things like corn and things like that have been found. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with that. And it's just a lot of it is just rehashed, from last year's event. They're doing that again, and so to see them have a roadmap for the new events coming in the next few years that revitalizes things, makes it different, makes it a unique experience, and maybe even give an update to the AI to some of the characters that just say the same old thing all the time. And it's
Exactly.
it's it's less and like even update like the AI like in the original GameCube, they talked to you and like they responded and it seemed organic, which is really creepy. But in this one, it's more rehearsed and they say the same lines and things like that. And I think they could do a little bit more to make it a little bit more personal, and interactive. And perhaps they could do it and it won't be too little too late. 3 years later for Amiibo and things like that, they could do that too. But I want to see some more engagement in Animal Crossing. Yes, it's fun to play with friends, but I want more gameplay that isn't just driven on the community because a lot of people jumped on that just because you could be so creative in it and build things and visit other friends. But that's what drove it. Like outside of that, the game is pretty like outgrown and hollow in a lot of ways.
Totally.
And it's just like going through the motions and they need something more to revitalize it, make it a fun game, aside from user driven experience.
Yep. So well said, Ryan. Totally agree. And like you said with the cafe, it's very cool that we'll have that location and it'll be a nice chill spot. But like you said, once you're there, then what? It's really cool and cute, and I'm sure the music's relaxing. But like, I can go on YouTube and listen to the soundtrack, or I can look at like a picture in the background while I'm doing work, or something. So make it more interactive and make me really connect with that setting. That's so important. And also, like you said, the game, when it was released, I understood that the game wasn't fully complete. We came to
Mhm.
expect that because we had this understanding that we would get continuous updates that would be pretty satisfying and pretty regular. But they have been regular, but they just haven't added enough. And I know I've said that a few times, but I just feel like we still have that same uh, and I like the way you put it, Ryan. That same hollow-ish game just with a couple extra features, and they really need to flesh out that world. There's so much potential, and there's so many players that have put so much money into the game, and I just wish that they made it more of a priority to make this a true gem on the Switch, which is what this series deserves, especially after its newfound popularity. So it's just frustrating because I know how much potential Animal Crossing has and how much they've achieved some of that with this iteration, but there's just so much more, and it feels so obvious for them to take it in these certain directions, and I'm not seeing that yet. But the inclusion of Brewster and the Roost is a very positive sign, so
Mhm.
we shall see. Josh, any quick thoughts on that? Okay, I think Josh went away. So let's move on to the next
Oh,
announcement. Oh, you there,
Oh,
Josh?
there he is.
Okay.
sorry, I'm here for just a second. Sorry,
Okay,
guys,
sorry
we
about
will
that.
be kind of in
Uh,
and out.
that's
But
okay. Yeah, any thoughts on
yeah,
Animal Crossing?
quick thoughts on Animal Crossing, I guess. Um, I've still really loved the game, especially when it first came out. I am also extremely disappointed in the almost no amount of, big updates. They sold a ton of copies of that. Everybody I know was into it, and they just kind of let it die off. So I kind of feel like we got a little screwed on that deal. It's like
Yeah,
there's plenty of things missing that they could add, and I don't see why these little updates take so long to get out. I don't know if they think everybody's going to come back. I don't really see that happening. I mean, even my mom was playing the game for a little bit when it came out, and that's very, very unusual. So,
right. But is she still, because they're losing that fan base and
no,
these potential players? She's not playing it, right?
no, them, my cousin, all them fell off a long time ago because
Yeah,
I haven't really been playing it that often at all.
right.
My daughter pulled it out the other day and made me think of it. So I poked around with it for a little bit, but I am very glad to see an update coming. And the fact that it's getting its own little presentation, I hope, means that there's something substantial coming to it.
Right. Yep.
So yeah.
Well, we shall see. So the next announcement was, I mean, there's not too much to say about this, but I'll just mention that for Mario Party Superstars, they're adding a few extra stages. I'm not really following, which stages are from where, and the N64 games kind of blur together for me. I love them dearly, but I'm not particularly fond of one specific board from one specific game. I just like all the Mario parties pretty much the same. So I think that this is a very clever idea for a game where they take three of the most beloved Mario Party games, the ones that a lot of people are particularly fond of, and they bring back some of the most beloved stages from these games, because if they were to add these to the N64 Switch Online service, there would be a lot of issues with people rolling their palms on the joysticks and making drift even more of an issue than it already is. So I think this is a pretty good solution, and it's also nice that we're getting these excellent mini games in a new package, and it's like more graphically impressive and stuff like that, and we'll have more reliable online play than probably with the N64 thing. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Unless you guys have anything you wanted to add about that, I think I'll just move on to the next subject. But any thoughts
Uh,
on that game?
just an aside here.
Hmm.
It'd be funny if they did release, Mario Party 1, and on my Nintendo they released something that you could purchase with coins, with their platinum coins, to get the special glove to go along with that, so you don't destroy your hands.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't know if everyone knows about this because it's not the most known trivia fact about Nintendo, but for Mario Party 1, there were certain mini games, like I mentioned before, where you have to like spin the Joy-Con around really, really fast. I don't remember what they were, but there were some people that got like blisters from that, and I think there was a lawsuit. So their way of solving it was sending out these special gloves. I would love to see what they look like, by the way. But yeah, that would be really funny to have a little throwback to that. But I don't see that happening.
Mm.
I don't think they're
To
very.
add in on Mario Party, I've
What's that?
I've played to add it on Mario Party. I've played all the main ones since the beginning.
Hmm.
I I think it looks fun. I love that they brought back the Yoshi board and Horrorland. Both of those are great ones.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
Um, my only complaint, and I don't feel like I see very many people bring this up, is I feel like 5 boards is kind of inexcusable at this point.
Yes, good point.
Four was that was awful. Like I
Yeah.
mean, it was a pretty good game, Super Mario Party, but the amount of boards was terrible, and the boards weren't even that great.
Right.
So for this, I'm like, why? And in 1999, like the first game had like 8 boards or something, I think.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. I mean, I play 4, 5, 6, and 7 all the time, and they definitely have way more boards than that. I think they have like, I don't know, 7, 8 boards, which
Yeah.
still isn't a lot, but like, time has passed and our expectations have justifiably been demanding a few more boards or stages in general for most games. Mario Kart had like 16 originally, and now Mario Kart 8 has, I don't know, 40 or so or something. It's just something that we naturally have come to expect. I don't think more than 4 or 5 is asking too much. I think 10 or something like that would be reasonable. 5 is like inexcusable at this point. So that's a good point, Josh.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
definitely. I was thinking more 10 to 15 or 20 or something.
Mhm.
I mean, they're
Right,
just they're boards that are already made technically, sort of. I mean,
right.
and the layouts and themes and such.
Yeah,
I
it's
wonder.
not
Anyway,
that complicated. I don't know.
I almost wonder if they're moving to a not necessarily like a yearly like
Mm,
release of a game, but moving some of their titles like Splatoon. We've seen two now, like in a short period of time. Like maybe we'll see more Mario Party, like that takes like new elements and old elements. Like maybe we'll start seeing like maybe less content in the games, but more often more titles, and maybe hopefully become cheaper.
mm.
But who knows?
No, definitely not. You know how they can be with that. But
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we
Not
kind of forget that in the GameCube days, Mario Party came out every single year. Four,
yeah.
like 5 came out the year after 4, and then 6 and 7,
Mhm,
and I looked forward to it every year. But at the same time, in those games, like I mentioned before, we had lots more state boards.
mhm,
However, I could be remembering this incorrectly, but I think that this game has a lot of mini games. I don't remember the number, but I think I remember being impressed by the amount that was in this one.
mhm,
So it is kind of a trade-off in that way, if I'm correct at least. So I don't know. Their approach to Mario Party over the past few years has been very strange,
mhm.
if not even like the past decade. Okay, so the next thing that I'll say, I'm just gonna lump a few other announcements together just to save some time, but some games that were announced that were pretty cool. It's kind of a mixed bag depending on what you're interested in, but Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic will make its way to Switch.
Mhm.
Castlevania Advanced Collection came out yesterday, which was very cool. ActRaiser Renaissance, a remastered version of the SNES Classic, was also out yesterday. A little bit more was shown about Project Triangle Strategy. Yoko Taro's card RPG Voice of Cards is coming soon. There's also Dying Light 2. And, I'll stop there for now. Did you guys want to say anything about any of those titles?
Yeah, Voice of Cards for me, definitely. I'm excited about that. That's a cool take on tabletop RPG, and experiencing that in a card form. Definitely cool. It's all like basically card based, and I'm all for that. Like I want to explore that world more, and kind of like read into those stories. It's just a different medium of experiencing it. I don't know if I'd like it outside of it. Like if they made it like a sequel or a regular series, I don't think I'd like it, but just to experience it once would be really cool.
Hmm,
You know,
cool.
I like my card games, but this is more of a traditional RPG, but like a lot more like randomized decks. But you also have dice and stuff like that, but with like animated attacks, even from the cards themselves. And all your pieces are cards, all your locations are cards. The board is cards. Like it's just cards, and so that's kind of a cool concept, and a cool world to explore. That
Yeah. You know what I like about you, Ryan? You are the yin to my yang. You always like the games that I just completely gloss over. So I'm glad that you are appreciating that announcement because I turned away and just started doing laundry until the next game was announced. I personally am very excited for Knights of the Old Republic. I've always heard great things about it, and it'll be cool to get a chance to play a classic Xbox game on my Switch and play it anywhere. So that'll be cool. Castlevania Advanced Collection is very cool. I love that Konami hasn't forgotten about Castlevania and that we're not begging for these games anymore. So those. That's going to be a great collection. I haven't played it yet, but and I'm definitely waiting for like a physical version of it. I slaved over trying to get the Game Boy Advance carts of that because I wanted those games so bad. But now I kind of feel like an idiot because all those games will be on one cart. But I like that it has the rewind, quick save, and button mapping features for this collection. That's exactly what this game needs. So that's very cool. ActRaiser is a game I've heard really, really good things about. And I didn't get a chance to buy it on the Wii Virtual Console. So it'll be really cool to play a remastered version of it. So I always thought that remastered versions of things was going to be something I don't like moving forward, but going back to old versions of things, it's clear to see that some uh, mechanics or visuals or audio things just don't really age well. So I actually am glad that we're in this era where these classics are getting the treatment that we think that they deserve. Yeah, that is all I really have to say for those titles. Josh, anything that stood out to you?
I will say real quick, and I apologize again, everybody. It's just kind of a off the handle recording, but
Yeah.
and I'm near my daughter at the moment. So, but um, yeah, the Knights of the Old Republic thing, I'm very excited to play. I didn't have an Xbox back in the day, and I'm obviously a big Star Wars fan. Even though it's not like a canon thing, I've heard good things about it.
Hmm.
I definitely want to give that a shot. I'm a little jealous of the remake on PS5, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Um, and yeah, the Castlevania Advanced collections, I didn't get into that series back then. So it's been very tempting sitting there in the eShop for $20. I see the other collections go on sale though for like $5 every once in a while. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
kind of waiting.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know that, so yeah, might as well wait. Honestly, I never expected this type of collection to ever come about. So if there's one thing with the Switch, like one continuous theme is that this console continues to surprise me with all the weird announcements that come out for it, and I'm here for it, you know. Project Triangle Strategy, like I'm happy for whoever that game is for. It's probably just not for me, but it looks beautiful, and I hope that this game is everything that its fans want it to be. I don't know what Dying Light 2 Stay Human is. I kind of turned around for that. Oh, it's a cloud version game. I'm very against that. So that's all I got to say about that. Um, Deltarune Chapter 2 was released. I know many people are excited about that. So that's awesome. Mario Golf Super Rush had some new characters included and courses, apparently. I didn't notice that before.
Yeah,
Ninja is one of them, which I love. I think that's one of my favorite
Ninja.
like
I
Mario
was very
characters.
excited to see
Yes.
Ninja.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll enjoy that game. It needs more content, but yeah,
right.
Ninja was a very nice addition. Koopa Troopa, I always everybody loves Koopa. He kind of felt
Yeah,
like a character that was like should have already been there, maybe. I don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but
agreed.
Ninja was a very nice addition, and he kind of looks like one of the Fall Guys. Like if you look at him like in the game, he just kind of looks like one of those dudes like in the Fall Guy costumes to me now. But
Okay.
I like the big buttons.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know. I like his
one thing that
design.
I love what that Nintendo over the past few years have been including really random characters from the Mario universe in their games, like
Mhm.
Queen Bee from Mario Galaxy and Mario Kart 7, and there's some other like random characters for Mario Tennis and also Mario Golf. Wasn't like Chain Chomp a character in that game? Is that right, Josh?
Yeah, Chomp was a character in tennis. In golf, they already had Charge and Chuck. And I love him.
Charge and
And
Chuck, yeah.
Charge and Chuck's there, and King Bob Bomb is a
Oh,
character.
the Bob Omb, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So I like that when they provide these deep cuts and like Ninji. I always saw Ninjas, but I didn't know it had a name, and I just love that its name is Ninji.
Now,
It's just
where's
so
Wart?
sick. Yes, where is Ward? Seriously, justice for Ward, please. I love that character. A few other announcements. Chocobo GP is a Final Fantasy racing game, which is very random, but hey, why not? I personally don't think I'll be getting it, but cool. Disco Elysium, the final cut. I've heard a lot of really good things about this game. I have no idea what it is, but I'll get it if the reviews are quite good. Oh, and IGN listed here that they gave it a 10 out of 10, so I will be getting that. I believe there's a physical version from Limited Run in case anyone's interested in that, because that's my jam. Um, I know at least Josh is interested in this. There is going to be more content for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. What I did see, I didn't see too much of it. I was kind of busy doing other things, but I thought the things that they were including were pretty interesting. I think I'll end there. So I guess we'll start with Josh. Josh, any thoughts on the games that I just mentioned?
I don't have a whole lot to add at this point. However, with Hyrule Warriors, I really enjoyed that game. There's some things I like about the first one a little more, but with this one, um, the first DLC was okay. I honestly didn't finish the whole thing. It was mostly just a
Mhm.
bunch of challenges. I need to
Hmm.
go back to that eventually. Um, Hopefully, this one it looks like has a little more story to it, so I'm happy for
Mhm.
that. Um, the characters weren't super exciting to me. They just kind of felt expected.
Hmm.
Um, Now the third one, they said there was another third mystery one. Kind of curious what that is. I do feel like where they're limiting themselves to just Breath of the Wild, which I love that game, don't get me wrong, but where they're limiting themselves just to that, there's not quite the same level of excitement for characters for me
Yeah,
as there was in the first one, where like we got Marin in
right.
the first Tower Warriors and Tingle, all kinds of crazy stuff. Where this one,
Mm.
that's not really happening. I kind of feel like we're out of like the really interesting ones.
Right.
So
It's like bottom of the barrel at this point.
yeah, it's
Not
like
really,
we're gonna
but
start getting random NPCs.
right.
I,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm I've got the season pass, so I'm obviously gonna get it. I'll go back to it once it comes out. I know I will.
Okay. Ryan, what about you? The things that I mentioned are, let's see, Dying Light 2. Hopefully, you don't have anything to say about that. Mario Golf, Deltarune, Chocobo GP, Disco Elysium, and Hyrule Warriors DLC.
Um, Dying Light 2, cool. I mean, I'm more excited about the first one. I've heard
Oh my
it's a
God.
great zombie game. From what I hear, it's like one of the better zombie games that they've made in like for video games. So, I mean, I wouldn't say like don't ignore it just because like it's just another like bro game or something like that. But it's a legitimate like cool experience. Though on Switch, you could probably play it better elsewhere. And then Disco Elysium, I've heard that that's a really great game, and a lot of people are saying like it needs to come to Switch, and it's going to come to
Yeah.
Switch, and it finally is. So
Yeah. It
I've
was
heard good
rumored
things
for a
about that.
while.
Not really
Yeah.
something that's my cup of tea, but still cool. Um, Hyrule Warriors, absolutely like in for it, like especially with more story. I want to get more about it. I want to get into that more. I'm kind of curious what the last thing is, like Josh said, and, like just to see if they do a lead in to tie things together because it seems like it's its own timeline in a way. But it'd be kind of cool to see if they tie that into the sequel, and what have you somehow, some way. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm curious to see what they do with that. Not I don't have much to say about the Chocobo other than it was cute. It just looked like Mario Party reskinned, but
Or Mario
um,
Kart, you mean?
yeah, sorry, yeah, Mario Kart, yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
agreed. I mean, yeah, nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, it's like I'm not jumping out of my seat for it. But who knows? The Sonic racing games were surprisingly really good, so there's potential for them to do something interesting with it.
mhm.
Any other thoughts, Ryan?
Um, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, the last batch of announcements that I'll just lump together is Disney Magical World 2 for the 3DS is getting remastered in a way with an enhanced edition. There's also Shadowrun Trilogy, Rune Factory 5. Oh, I thought that came out already. What do I know? And then there's going to be some extra arcade archives with Pac-Man and Xevious. So that's pretty cool. I don't really have anything to say about those. It's just that with the Switch, and I've said this a million times, it's important that there's a game for everyone. And this Direct was great because it yeah, there's something for everyone. Disney Magical World 2 isn't for me, obviously, but there's probably a little girl or boy that is really excited for something like that and is going to just really enjoy their experience with that game while I'm excited playing other things. So I'm just happy that the Switch is successful and that players of all kinds can be satisfied in their own unique way. And it's interesting because like the Switch has games that are a lot more niche than I expected. Like I don't know many of these titles, but there's a bunch of people who do, and they're probably thrilled that they can take it with them anywhere. So those are my thoughts, I guess. Any other final thoughts? And actually, what are your thoughts on the Direct in general? What would you grade it? I'll think about that in the meantime. What would you give it from like a to F?
For
Okay.
me, sorry, Brian.
We'll start with Josh.
Uh, for me, I will say, well, were we adding anything else to this discussion first? There's one other thing I didn't hear get brought up, and it
Oh,
could open a can of worms.
okay. Well, why don't you bring that up because that's all that their list has for us, unless I
Okay,
skipped something.
no, no, no.
But
I think the only other thing, because it's not really a game, and I want to gloss over this real quick, but is the Mario movie announcements.
Yeah.
oh yes, I'm sorry, I circled that and I forgot that I did that. There's actually two things. So Metroid Dread, they showed a lot of Metroid Dread. I'm sure we're all excited, but I'm also sure we'll have more episodes on that in the
I
future.
tried to close my eyes on that part. I don't need to see more.
Um,
I want
Yeah,
to see
same.
more.
I
yeah,
didn't
they did
watch
show more
anything.
stuff. Um, I did want to say in those lists of games that you had read off really quickly, that was another 3DS port that included Mii's, that Disney game.
Mm,
So continued Mii support for Switch. So
true.
just side note.
Yep, good point. I from what I understand, I feel like the first Disney Magical World, if that's what it's called, I feel like the first one got good reviews and then the second one didn't. So
Mhm.
hopefully they learn from that and just include all the things that people were upset about. I could be remembering that wrong, but I obviously haven't played it, so I don't know. But yeah, so those games were announced. Metroid Dread, there was a trailer I didn't watch because from what I understand, they've revealed a little too much so far. So I want to be surprised. I'm sure we're all excited for it, and it's hopefully going to be our game of the year. Looks like they're doing a great job with it so far. But if you guys are okay with it, can we jump into the movie casting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fire away.
Josh, well, okay, yeah, I'll just mention who's playing who. So, for anyone who hasn't been following along, and I'm sure many of you have, Chris Pratt will be playing Mario in the upcoming Super Mario movie, followed by Anya Taylor-Joy, who will play Peach. Charlie Day will play Luigi. Jack Black will be Bowser. Keegan Michael Key will be Toad. Seth Rogen will be Donkey Kong. And Charles Martinet, who has been playing Mario forever, will be having cameo appearances in the movie. So that's really interesting. Um, Ryan, what are your thoughts on this casting?
I knew some of the names, some of them I didn't. So,
Hmm.
um, comedians were a big thing here.
True. Good point.
A lot of comical, a lot of characters, like really, really like emotionally like expressive characters. I like that they had that going for them. Just a lot of people known uh, for their work and things that make you laugh, and so that makes me lean like kind of fits on brand with the Minions stuff, and and everything like that. It's some big names, big huge names. I noticed they didn't say anything about Japanese voice actors, but I'm kind of curious to see if there's any big names in their lineup for who they have for the Japanese edition. But no, probably no one I would know. But they're just kind of curious about that one. But I'm happy that they've got a good mix of characters. I want to hear them as voice actors, and see
Yeah.
what they bring to the table and how they sound, because it sounds like they're going to have to bring some unique voices to this table, and it's not going to just sound just like them. I know there's a bunch of memes going on right now where people are showing like this is what Mario's going to sound like, and this is what Bowser's going to sound like, or this is what DK is going to sound like, or they take someone's laugh and post it over someone else's like movie scenes or something, or there's just they're just trying to speculate, but it'd be really cool to hear the voice acting talent here, alongside the goofiness of how they can be. Um, and it's really cool to hear that some of these people got to like be a part of their childhood and like be a part of this big milestone. The Smash Brothers cinematic universe aside, it's really nice to see Mario coming and having some big names to draw people in, and it's going to be huge with just the names alone,
Yeah.
getting people to watch this movie and, it's something to look forward to in the holidays. I think we got a official date, I wanna say, like, the 22nd of November?
December 21st,
December.
right before
December 21st,
Christmas.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be huge,
Yeah.
probably. So I mean, yeah, no, you bring up some really great points,
Jack Black is
Ryan.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It really does kind of like what you are alluding to. It kind of allows us to understand the tone of the movie because when this thing was announced, a lot of us are like, how are they going to do this? Because Mario's not known for its story. Mario games aren't known for their story, and Mario's not the most expressive character in terms of like the things that he says. And who could be Mario when we are just so used to Charles Martinet, and he's not even going to be playing Mario? So, when the movie was announced, I thought it was a great idea for Nintendo to branch out with Super Mario, but I was a little worried because the studio that's doing it is a little iffy with the projects that they put out. I don't think Minions and Despicable Me and what's the other one? Secret Life of Pets. Those aren't,
Sing.
classic. Oh, saying yeah. Um, they're not like classic animated movies. It's not like Shrek or Pixar movies or Disney animated movies or anything like that. But at the same time, I will say I'm a little comforted from this casting. I was kind of joking around in our group chat, but I think this movie has a lot of potential. I think that they know what they're doing with these characters, and like Ryan said, like these are some really talented comedic actors. I don't love all of them exactly the same, but I do understand where they're coming from and why Jack Black could be Bowser. Like I think all of us could totally visualize that and have an idea of what they're going for with that. And Seth Rogen, I'm not a huge Seth Rogen fan, but him playing Donkey Kong, I think that's really appropriate. And the Anya Taylor-Joy lady, I know she hosted SNL and I thought she did a pretty good job with that. So I think that, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of potential. Charlie Day's Luigi, that's really appropriate. And
I don't know
and
who that is.
what's that?
I don't know who that is.
I think he's like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia guy who's just always like, oh, just
Nope,
I don't know,
doesn't mean anything to
frantic.
me.
Okay.
I'm
I mean,
curious
I
to
never
see.
saw the show, but yeah. But Chris Pratt playing Mario, I'm a little hung up about that. I think it's fine because he did an okay job in like the Lego movie, as just like a typical hero or whatever. But I don't know how I feel about him playing as Super Mario. But I am really looking forward to the trailer. I have nothing against Chris Pratt. I just feel like it's a role that is a little above him. Um, but we'll see. I don't know. I like to me when I think of Chris Pratt, I feel like with every movie he just gets paid to be like, "Whoa, hold on!" Like he just goes on all these weird adventures where something kooky's happening. And I guess that's fine for a Super Mario movie, but he just he's just the same character in every movie. I don't know.
I
Um,
like it.
yeah,
I like it just because it's an opportunity for him to expand his ability as a voice actor.
Right.
And as a professional, like I'm really excited for him, and I'm kind of curious to see what he brings to the table and what voice he's able to produce that matches Mario.
Right.
But from anything that we do know of him, he doesn't fit the bill, you know.
Yeah.
But perhaps he has some voice acting stuff. He's actually going to have to voice act here and prove himself, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah. I'm two last things that I'll say is I'm a little frustrated because over the past few decades we've moved away from actual voice actors, people who have a career of lending their voice to an animated character that was an
Mhm,
actual career, and we've moved now to celebrities and
mhm.
actors who lend their voices to characters, and it's a very different discipline and approach in how you uh, what you provide. So I like Chris Pratt. I think he's a cool guy, but like he's not the best actor, so I'm a little concerned about him lending his voice to this. At the same time, I hope that all these actors understand the franchise that they're now a role taking part of. This is a huge franchise, and Nintendo's really betting on this being a huge hit and allowing them to really branch out. So there's a lot on the line, and I hope that the characters understand that and put a lot of work into it, and that some great magic can come out of it. So I'll shut up. And Josh, what are your thoughts on the Mario movie casting?
Okay, so my thought with it, like I was sitting there with my friend Zach watching the direct, and we both couldn't help but kind of crack up when we saw the casting.
Yeah.
It just seemed funny, almost like a meme.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but we both were happy about it, to be honest. Like I'm with you on, I with I don't like all these movies not using actual voice actors, people who went and specifically, are there to do voices. Um, However, I feel like for a Mario movie, this might be fine.
Yeah.
Just for one, with Mario, I feel like it can kind of get away with being a movie that can reach. I don't want to make it sound too negative, but the lowest common denominator, and it's not that big of a deal. Like, which is kind of Illumination's portfolio, I guess.
Yeah.
But like everybody knows who Mario is, and I think putting those stars on there that people like, I think can reach kind of that crowd that wouldn't necessarily go to a Metroid movie or something. It's a fun family movie, and everybody likes this actor. Everybody knows him. He was in this, so I think that's probably a pretty safe business way to go about it.
Yeah.
Um, I really like Chris Pratt. He's just one of my favorite actors. For some reason, Twitter is a weird place. For some reason, people seem to hate him there. I don't know. He probably did something nice and they canceled him. I don't know. But anyway, um, I think he'll do fine. I've heard him do some voices before. I don't. He's probably not going to try to be Charles Martinet. I don't. He might take it a different direction, and that might be fine.
Yeah.
Um, and there was somebody
He's
else
got a
I was
lot of
thinking
pressure
of.
on his shoulders.
Yeah.
He does. He has a lot, and I'm glad they're putting Charles Martinet in there in some way. I think I'm glad they're doing that at all.
Is
Yeah.
Um,
is it sad that I want to see a cameo by Wario and Waluigi, and have them
Hey,
be the
I,
voice?
they'll
I'm
probably
sad
do
there's
it
no
because Charles Martinet
Foreman's
does those voices. So,
Foreman Spike is in this, and I don't see Yoshi yet.
mm,
What the heck?
I think we'll
um,
see it.
Sequel. It's
I'm
like Tails in Sonic. Like you're gonna get
That's
Yoshi
awesome.
in the sequel.
Right,
I'm
in
glad
like
Donkey
Mario
Kong's here,
Galaxy.
and I'm glad Cranky's here. I'm not. I don't know if does anybody really like Seth Rogen. Anyway,
Yeah,
um,
I
really.
like that they have Cranky listed here, which means they're probably gonna show the origin flashback and show actually Cranky Kong as Donkey Kong back then,
Oh
which is
yeah,
gonna be cool. It like
yeah,
a
good point.
reminiscent back in my
which means
day, it'd be
they
cool.
they might replace Pauline with Peach, which in my nerd head canon that bothers me a little bit, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, that would be
Anyway,
interesting.
They could
Yeah,
skip the girl altogether, and
I,
just like do like a flashback, but just show like the struggle and not necessarily what was going on there with the girl. Like they may show Pauline, who knows? But
In
Mm.
this day and age, I doubt they're going to show her get kidnapped like twice and be kind of useless, like Peach can kind of be in the past. I don't mean
I
that rude. I just meant,
I think
you
they're
know,
gonna give her an empowered role
I
as
think
right.
so too.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying
as
to
a
say.
princess and everything. So
Yeah.
Um,
But
yeah, I
I
lost my
like you
train of
said
thought.
with Cranky, I think Fred Armisen playing Cranky is perfect. Like he's such
what
a
does he do?
weird guy. Oh, he was on SNL for ages and he just does these weird quirky characters and all these bizarre shows like what's it called? Portlandia, just these like hipster shows. But he's so talented and he's such a great he does all these great impersonations, so he can definitely do a lot with that role. So that I'm most excited about. And similarly, I think Keegan Michael Key as Toad is as Keegan Michael Key as Toad is hilarious. I think
That
that's
was
such a
hilarious. When
yeah,
I was like, this is too much. This is,
right.
I don't even know who
but
that is either, but I'll
so
be
Oh,
excited to
really?
hear.
Yeah, he's a very expressive comedic actor. He was on Mad TV for a while and Key and Peele. I didn't really see Key and Peele, but I saw clips every once in a while. But um, yeah, he's very talented in his own way. And oh, he was in Toy Story 4 too. I forgot about that.
I still haven't seen that one
Um,
either.
that was a good movie.
But
Anyway,
yeah, with like when they announced this in the direct, I was very surprised because I just never really thought like, oh, they're gonna
Hmm.
show details about this movie in this Nintendo Direct. But it makes sense, and I'm glad that they did. But the more that they revealed about the casting, the more I was just like, okay, all right, I kind of get where they're going with this. So it's nice to get an idea of that, and it'll be really interesting to see like where the story takes place and just how I don't know. I still want to understand what this movie is, but um, it's also like something that's also in my mind is like the Sonic movie controversy and how we saw how Sonic looked at first and how terrifying that was and how they had to take it back to the drawing board and redo that. I'm definitely not expecting that to happen with this movie, but I think they understand after that happened how much pressure there can be from all these fans because this is such a beloved franchise, not just from like for video game fans, but people all over the world who are even just like casual gamers or just even like, you know, some spin-off products that Nintendo offers. You know, everyone knows Mario. He's one of the most recognized characters, even more than Mickey Mouse. So, um, yeah. So yeah, that was a very fun and kooky announcement. I think the last thing that I want to that I want to ask you guys is what you thought of the Nintendo Direct overall. So Ryan, I'll start with you. What did you think of the Direct overall, and what would you rate it?
Um, hmm. I like some things in it. It didn't like super wow me. I got excited at a few points, so I just feel like it's a solid B for me.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like as a direct, it was an A plus, but as far as it appealing to me, it was about a B, and that's fine because not everything in a direct is going to be for me. It's supposed to be for everyone. So there were a couple things that I was kind of excited about. I mean, Metroid Dread is coming in a few weeks. I can't complain,
Oh
and
yes, two
you know
weeks.
yeah, and like they didn't even mention Advance Wars or a lot of the other games that they mentioned at E3. So the few announcements that were for me that were exciting, you know, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, details of the Super Mario movie, an announcement of an announcement for the final Smash Fighter, Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 3, the N64 games. I really can't complain. Like, yeah, I would love for them to announce Banjo-Kazooie 3. Yeah, I would love for them to announce Super Mario Odyssey 2, but we have to be a little realistic. And yeah, I think it was a B as far as the things that appealed to me. But I thought it was an excellent, excellent direct overall. Those are my thoughts. Josh, what about you?
sorry about that.
Mhm.
Um, I would say, kind of grading it before. I guess I'd say like an 8 out of 10 with the letter grade. I guess I would give it a B, maybe a B plus, if
Mhm.
that's a thing. Um,
It's a thing.
Pretty
I
sure I
guess
got that in school.
there wasn't anything massive, but there was a lot of good stuff in there, and it kept my interest. I feel like there's been directs in the past that took, not to point out any fans of this, but um, I remember a direct that had like 12 minutes of Xenoblade Chronicles 2,
Right.
and it just kept going and going and going. And they didn't really do that. I don't feel like they've been as bad at that lately.
Yeah.
And it was just more of it was a good flow, and it was 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that I liked.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I think there was a good mix, to be fair, not just it being about me. I think there was a decent mix. So I don't
Yeah.
have much to complain about on this one.
Cool. I'm glad that we're all on a pretty similar page. I think a lot of people were, although some people in our group chat really hated it, which I don't fully understand. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variety, and that's what I like from my directs. I like seeing a little bit about the movie. I like seeing a little bit of DLC announcements and a separate direct that they'll be putting out in the future, and details about the Switch Online service and upcoming games and games that already came out that have DLC for the now. I like this variety, and it's such a great sign that every few minutes we're getting a completely new announcement, which means that the Switch and Nintendo brand is really healthy, and it's just such a great time to be a Nintendo fan. And it's moments like this where we can reflect and be like, you know what, I love what we do. I love that we have this hobby. I love that we chose this system, and that Nintendo is doing a pretty good job giving us the things that we're asking for and hope for. Honestly, like for me, Banjo Kazooie being on the N64 Switch Online service, that to me was kind of like Banjo Kazooie being announced for Smash Ultimate. It just like I was on cloud nine for the rest of the direct, and everything else that came after that was just extra. So hopefully, everyone that is listening got something out of the direct, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and hopefully, we'll have many more directs in the near future that also provide us with a lot of joy. So that's all really that I have to say, and hopefully that you guys also have to say. I did want to bring up Jacob's voicemail, if that's okay. Ryan, would you be able to pull up Jacob's voicemail?
Yeah, sure thing.
Thanks. Just a quick little intro. Jacob couldn't be with us today, unfortunately, so he did want to share his thoughts on the direct. So we'll just end with Jacob's thoughts on our direct.
Hey guys, sorry I can't make it on for this one, but overall I really liked the direct yesterday. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It had a handful of things that just appealed to me, and that's how these things go. I've had directs that you guys have loved, people are raving. I'm like, it did nothing for me, and this one had spots that filled my cup, and I'm really, really glad. I actually wanted Deltarune 2. I believed that would happen and drop that night, so excited about that. I'm really excited about the new Kirby game, 3D platformer, open world, something I've wanted out of Kirby for a very long time. Happy about that. And then, just the elephant in the room, N64 online with Banjo Kazooie coming is just, it's really made my week. I yelled and then got in trouble by my fiance when it happened because our children are asleep. So it's a dream come true. I hope to see more and more rare games come and just, fill my nostalgia childhood up. And I will be getting that controller. I'll probably be getting 2 of them. Lindsay wants one as well, too. So, and she was excited about that Disney game. She wants it for Christmas. So, that's what I thought about it. You guys have a good episode, and can't wait to listen. Bye.
Cool. Well, thank you, Jacob. I think we did have a great episode, and I hope that everyone listening enjoyed it as well. So thank you guys again, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Later, Chris.
I'm not gonna have this. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not gonna have this, turn into like an extra long one. It's just gonna be, we'll talk about what we want to talk about, and then we'll end it when we're good. And I'm not expecting it to be too short, but not too long either. So.